Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake Up Show, a weekly podcast where growth minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. All right, hello, you gorgeous, beautiful people, you. We are back. And if this is your first time here, bless you, bless you, bless you. I'm so glad, so delighted that you are here. Thanks for coming. And for all of my returning listeners, here's a key lime pie of love for you. So thanks for coming. We are continuing our Enneagram series. The Enneagram is a 9-pointed wisdom system, has a huge, rich, and varied history, well worth digging into. We are only skimming the surface of this Enneagram, and we are doing it in service of the idea that human beings, you and I, are way too complex, way too rich, way too varied to ever fit into a single box. So you cannot be limited to an astrology sign, a big five personality description, or an Enneagram type. So what looking into the Enneagram really can do is help us understand ourselves and others better. And then we can integrate all of those personality characteristics that are embodied in the different types. Cool, cool? Cool. So we have moved into the triad, the 5, 6, and 7s that are considered the head triad or the fear, anxiety, motivated triad. So we learned last time that Enneagram 5s tend to relate to their fear/anxiety by having as few needs as possible and seeking to understand the world as deeply as possible. So now we're moving on to Enneagram 6. And Enneagram 6s are really fun for me to study as an Enneagram 5. Enneagram 6s are really fun because they tend to come in 2 subtypes, and that's a little bit unusual. So when you think about an Enneagram 6, Enneagram 6s are really more characterized by the relationship to anxiety. Like when you think of a stereotypical anxious person or someone who's living in anxiety, you might be summoning the image of an Enneagram 6. So as per usual, I will be flipping around my books, trying to make sure I get you the best information. So let's see what we call Enneagram 6s. So Enneagram 6s are called the loyalist, the guardian, the true believer, the doubter, the troubleshooter, the traditionalist, the stalwart, the questioner. Did I say loyalist? Did I say loyalist? So sixes are motivated by the need for security. Now there's 2 types. There are phobic 6s and counterphobic 6s. So phobic 6s are outwardly fearful and seek approval. Counterphobic 6s confront their fears. And any one person can have both. So what can happen is, like, I hope you can hear the air quotes, a phobic 6 is going to be the kind of person who goes around and checks all the outlets before they leave the house and double checks that the stove is off, packs, a full first aid kit, which includes, what do you call those, an EEG machine, or no, those, what do you call those machines where you like people and you bring them back to life? So phobic Enneagram 6s are noticeable. Their anxiety is noticeable to other people. Counterphobic 6s, however, sometimes people read as 8s because their attitude is like, I'm going to run headfirst into that thing that scares me to make it stop. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So 6s at their best are loyal, likable, caring, warm, compassionate, witty, practical, helpful, responsible. 6s at their worst are hypervigilant, controlling, unpredictable, judgmental, paranoid, defensive, rigid, self-defeating, testy, and yours truly, I would add hypochondriacs. So let's talk about what's driving sixes. Now, remember, we look at the Enneagram as loose guidelines, and it's not a perfect map. It's just a helpful way of characterizing the way that people respond. Everyone has fear, everyone has anxiety, everyone has shame, everyone has anger. But your personality type, your lead way of showing up in the world, may be reflected in one more than the others. We're all everything. We're all everything. We're all everything. So the basic fear of the type 6 is of having no support, no guidance, of being unable to survive on their own. Their basic desire is to find security and support. Their super ego message: you are good or okay if you do what is expected of you. Now, one way some Enneagram 6 find that security is by being a joiner. Like one of the reasons they're called the loyalist is that they will identify with a certain ideology, a certain group, a certain college, and they will be like the most gung-ho. And which is nothing wrong with being loyal, obviously. And there's nothing wrong with being a super booster of a point of view or your university or your job or whatever group you belong to, as long as it's done in a way that leaves room for clear-headed thinking and it's not a substitute for your own autonomy. And the idea is, if I'm a member of this community, then I have that support, I have that guidance, I have that ability to survive. So let's look at something about sixes, right? So one thing that can be hard about being a 6, they say, is the constant push and pull involved in trying to make up my mind, procrastinating because of fear of failure, having little confidence in myself. So one of the ways that 6s feel secure is through other people often, sometimes through being told what to do or having rules or regulations to follow. And so sometimes when they're left to their own devices, which is a basic fear of theirs, it can be very difficult for them to make up their minds. What's hard about being a 6? Fearing being abandoned or taken advantage of. Exhausting myself by worrying and scanning for dangers. One of the fundamental questions at the heart of a person who's an Enneagram 6 is, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And so sometimes that point of view can be exhausting. Another challenge is wishing I had a rule book at work so I could do everything right. Being too critical of myself when I haven't lived up to my expectations. So one of the gifts of the 6, right? Like if you're listening to this and you're not an Enneagram 6, you might have some empathy for how difficult it can be to sort of live with this constant drum of fear and anxiety. For the rest of us, one of the gifts that we get from Enneagram 6s is that sometimes they are the funniest people on the planet. Many, many comedians are Enneagram 6s, right? So you take this person who's going through life with this point of view, noticing everything that's wrong and that might come out and get you. It makes them very good observers, especially like if you're an Enneagram 6 with a 5 wing, you're going to be a very good observer of human nature. And if you're an Enneagram 6 with a 7 wing, you're going to be out there doing crazy things. What are wings? It's that idea that your primary Enneagram type can be influenced by the types to the left or the right of you in the circle. So yeah, a lot of Enneagram 6s are so funny. They're so funny. It's that like, I'm so neurotic, I'm funny kind of thing, which, there's a gift in everything. There's a gift in everything. So let's go into the Riso-Hudson system and let's talk a little bit about how they progress through the unhealthy levels to the healthier levels. Before we jump into that, have you liked this podcast on your player of choice? Have you subscribed? Can you share? Can you leave a 5-star review? Our community is growing organically, and I'm super grateful and honored actually, because I haven't been doing a lot of marketing and promoting, and yet every week our numbers are up. We continue to have more people. I continue to get emails and Instagram messages from you just sharing about what these episodes mean to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please continue to contribute. It means the world to me. And I do this. I rarely, if ever, put in advertising because, this is mostly a labor of love for me. And the more we can share information with other people who need it, like I like to think of this podcast as like just a little inoculation as you go through your week from all the madness in the world. It's like, oh, that's right. I'm actually okay. And here's a tool or resource I can use to be even more okay. All right. End of advertisement. So an Enneagram 6 at an unhealthy level is self-abasing, self-destructive. So the realization that they have committed acts for which they will likely be punished is too much for unhealthy 6s. Guilt and self-hatred lead them to punish themselves, inviting disgrace and bringing down all that they have achieved. Suicide attempts to elicit rescue are not uncommon. That's a very, very unhealthy version of an Enneagram level. And remember that these levels are not absolute progressions in a linear fashion. You can bounce up and down amongst them depending on how stressed you are, what's going on in your life. But for the most part, most people are going to find themselves, who are listening to this podcast and in this community, certainly at these higher levels. It can be helpful to know that these dangers are there for you, and it can also help you help other people. All right, a level 8 Enneagram 6 is paranoid lashing out. 6s become so insecure and desperate that they begin to believe that others will destroy whatever safety they have left. They harbor paranoid fears and delusional ideas about the world. They rant about their obsessive fears and may strike out at real or imagined enemies. You've met them on the internet, yeah? Some of them hold public office. All right. Level 7. So we're moving up to the top of the unhealthy range. Here, level 6s are panicky and unreliable. 6s fear that their actions have harmed their own security, and this may be true. Their reactive behavior may have caused crises in their lives, so they trust themselves even less. They feel panicky, depressed, and helpless, and so look for something to save them from their predicament. Remember when I said when you're thinking about an anxious person, you might be thinking of an Enneagram 6? At this panicky and unreliable state, these people at this level, they're reacting to their anxiety often by using other people as security objects. So this is the person who can't go anywhere without their significant other because they don't know how to regulate themselves. Okay, moving up. So now we're just sort of average. And average doesn't mean that most people are in this range. We're talking about sort of the middling level of emotional and spiritual maturity and growth. So at this level, these 6s can be authoritarian and blaming. 6s fear that they are losing the support of their allies, and they are extremely unsure of themselves, so they look for causes for their anxiety. They are embittered, cynical, and reactive, feeling that their good faith has been betrayed. They blame others and get into power struggles. There seems to be a lot of organizations. Yes, organizations can have an Enneagram type. Political movements and social groups that are operating at this level right now. They are embittered, cynical, and reactive. They're looking to blame others as the cause of their anxiety. And the truth is, everything that bothers us, the call is coming from inside. When you are feeling some sort of disturbing emotion, it's because you are believing something that isn't true. Okay, that requires a lot of unpacking. Do with that what you will. Maybe we'll revisit that in another episode. All right, moving up. An average Enneagram 6 who's operating at a level 5 is going to find themselves being ambivalent and defensive. Sixes worry that they cannot meet the conflicting demands of their different commitments, so they try to resist having any more pressure put on them without alienating their supporters. They are anxious, pessimistic, and suspicious, leading to greater caution, impulsiveness, and indecision. This is that ambivalence is usually what I see. It's like, there's too much. I can't meet everything. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Do I do this thing or that thing? I don't know. 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 Please, nobody be mad at me. Moving up, level 4, dutiful and loyal. So this is the top of the average level. Sixes begin to fear that they will lose their independence, but also believe they need more support. They invest themselves in the people and organizations that they believe will help them, but are uneasy about it. They seek reassurance and guidance in procedures, rules, authorities, and philosophies. So you can hear that sort of joiner tendency that I mentioned earlier. This is, I don't want to lose my independence, but I don't feel safe and okay. So I'm going to follow some rules here. As long as I follow the rules, everything will be fine. And you can see how if someone is in that frame, if I follow the rules, everything will be fine. And then they get betrayed by, I don't know, late stage capitalism, that they might fall to that lower level of authoritarian. Like, I did what I was supposed to do, and I didn't get what I was supposed to get. And then you can see how someone might start getting into that blame and power struggle situation. Okay, moving up. So now we're into the healthy level. This is where Enneagram 6s get to use their gifts and their superpowers because, yes, every group has a superpower. So level 3, Enneagram 6 is committed and cooperative. So 6s reinforce their self-image by responsibly working to create and sustain mutually beneficial systems. They form alliances with others, bringing thrift, hard work, and an attention to detail. They are well disciplined and practical, often foreseeing potential problems before they arise. So I remember I said that one of the questions that just drives an Enneagram 6 is what's wrong. And here in the healthy level, the Enneagram 6 is using that fault-finding tendency in service of mutually beneficial systems, of alliances, of foreseeing potential problems before they arise. Cool, right? So you go camping with an Enneagram 6, they're the ones that actually checked the weather report and brought that extra blanket, right? That's a healthy Enneagram 6. And a healthy Enneagram 6 is such a boon to any team. Like every team needs everybody. So I don't want to be like, if I didn't say that every team needs one of you, please don't take it personally. Every team needs everybody. Like, every team should be like a team of 9, maybe. I don't know. Wouldn't it be cool if like the Supreme Court justices were each chosen from one Enneagram type? What would be even cooler is if every Supreme Court justice, I'm in the US, were whole and integrated enough to have integrated all the types and actually be wise. But I digress. All right, a healthy Enneagram 6 at a level 2, engaging and reliable. 6s focus on the environment to find support and alert themselves to dangers. They are friendly, trustworthy, engaging, seeking to build connection and stability in their world. Self-image, I'm solid, attentive, and dependable. Fun, right? And that engaging thing, that friendly and engaging thing, really honestly often shows up in show business. It often shows up in charm, right? Enneagram 6s, and in particular, in my opinion, this is Dawn's opinion. The world according to Dawn. Enneagram 6s with a 7 wing really are like often just the most charming people you will ever meet because they have that sort of self-effacing thing and that sense of adventure from the Enneagram 7. But Dawn, we don't know about Enneagram 7s yet. You will next week. Okay. Level 1, a super healthy Enneagram 6 is self-reliant and courageous. Liberated 6s let go of the belief that they must rely on someone or something outside themselves for support. They discover their own inner guidance. They also, paradoxically, achieve their basic desire, to find security and support, particularly in their own inner guidance. They then become truly secure with themselves, grounded, serene, and valiant. What? I would love to be called valiant. Like, what a beautiful word to describe these people. Like, are you thinking like a Gryffindors? Grounded, serene, and valiant. Like, oh my gosh. Can you imagine being like grounded, serene, valiant, and funny? Whew. So Enneagram sixes really do have a lot to offer. In my opinion, and as I said, y'all know by now that I'm an Enneagram 5. So I don't live as an Enneagram 6. I think it can be really hard to be an Enneagram 6, but I think a healthy Enneagram 6 is like such a gift to the rest of the world. Did you hear that word valiant? Did you hear valiant? Here are some suspected Enneagram 6s. Princess Diana, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Julia Roberts, Jay Leno, Ellen DeGeneres, Gilda Radner, Katie Couric, Jack Lemmon, Rush Limbaugh, the George Costanza character from Seinfeld. So Don Richard Riso and Russ Hudson agree with me that Enneagram 6s with a 7 wing, they're an entertainment. Yay for us. And then an Enneagram 6 with a 5 wing. Remember that valiant word? Examples, probably. Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, Tom Clancy, Bruce Springsteen, Michelle Pfeiffer, Diane Keaton, Gloria Steinem, Candice Bergen, Mel Gibson, Janet Reno, Richard Nixon. You know, someone should do a multicultural Enneagram book. Maybe that someone is me, because sometimes these examples come from a very specific cultural lens. Might be interesting to widen that out. But yeah, so if you're an Enneagram 6, that anxiety that's driving you can actually be your superpower. And when it is, you become a valuable asset to the rest of us. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is so beautiful. Here's a quote. I get anxious, and then I look for the reasons why I am anxious. Okay, woo-woo alert. We're about to get woo-woo, and then I'll wrap it up. I think sometimes people are Enneagram 6s because they're highly sensitive people, HSPs, and or they are deep empaths. So they pick up the free-floating anxiety on the planet, and because they don't know it's not theirs, I get anxious, and then I look for reasons why I'm anxious. So if you find yourself living with a lot of anxiety, whether you're an Enneagram 6 or not, maybe that's not yours. Emotions are contagious. Contagious. I have a cold. Emotions are contagious. So you might be experiencing just the air, the emotional air. Okay, we're getting long. So what can we do for our own growing if we are not Enneagram 6s and we want to learn from them? So let's talk about building on strengths of the Enneagram 6s. Enneagram 6s are endowed with tremendous endurance and achieve their objectives through steady and persistent effort. They give careful attention to details and approach problems carefully and methodically. They organize resources, prioritize tasks, and see projects through. All right, y'all. The rest of us, let's learn. Let's learn about dependability. Let's learn about craftsmanship. Dependability, craftsmanship. This is what we learned from our Enneagram 6s. Pay attention to those details. Take pride in your craftsmanship, your craftspersonship. Yes? Yes. Yes. Stay on top of things so that your world runs as trouble-free as possible. Pay your bills early. Start the project early. That is what we can learn from our Enneagram 6s. And to all my Enneagram 6s who have channeled your superpowers into taking care of the rest of us just a little bit better, We thank you. All right, that's it for now. So, as we move into the week and we lean into the superpowers that we can learn from our Enneagram 6 brethren, sistren, and peopleren, themren, we'll go with that. Can I be the one to remind you that whatever your Enneagram type may or may not be, you are all that and more. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You are a delight. You are a unique offering from life to the world. You are a freaking gift. So I hope you will this week treat yourself with honor and respect and dignity because you are whole, you are perfect, you are complete, and you are worthy and deserving of a life so daggone terrific that you jump up and down when you get out of bed in the morning. Until next time.